session, it is going to be all about document automation as well, as you have said, Ross. And actually, Microsoft provides great tools for collaboration, also to manage your data, also to automate your data with Power Platform, for example, and of course, with the entire Dynamics platform. But you can create your business processes, you can automate them. But at the end of any business process, there's always a document. And this document also should be created or generated automatically. And this is what we would like to show you today in this session. And I'm joined today by my colleague, Johannes.
Hi, everyone. Also very happy to be here. Thanks again, Ras, for having us. It's another great opportunity to talk about the options that we see within the Microsoft platform, and also from, I think, following the session of Prabhu that we've just seen, the importance of different applications getting together in terms of data, but also in terms of the document automation. If that's something you're looking into, then you came to the right session, I'd say.
Exactly, and actually we have to reveal a little secret because we love the Power community, and usually before COVID, of course, we always were on a lot of on-site events. So we see a little picture here from London and from Munich, I see it, and Belgium. I was there twice, and also Dublin. So a lot of good conversation, great people. And if you look a little bit closer to the images, you will see that there is always a guy or a lady holding a Lego set somewhere. And that was always our raffle. So there was always a lucky winner at the end of the day during the session. But today, of course, we also brought a Lego, and it will be a Yoda from Star Wars. And you can directly participate. It's nothing easier than this. You just need to scan this barcode, and there are some questions. It's a little quiz, but if you follow the session, of course, you will answer them very easily. And yeah, and then you can win this Lego set. So may the power be with you, of course. And what I also can do right now, I just quickly share this link to this quiz into this chat here, so you will have it as well. But there will be at the end also an opportunity to participate. Well, the question is, Johannes, what actually did we bring the audience? What can the audience expect from our session today?
Perfect. Thank you, Fabian. Yeah, well, first of all, that you keep your phones, because there will be some questions during our session, because we will also want to get to know you, since we have a lot of live demos later on. And those live demos we do basically based on what you're interested in. So that will be a big part of our session. Before that, of course, we will talk a little bit about document automation. What are the challenges? And of course, why do you need it? Then we want to have a quick look into our approach, just some very few customer cases to also give an idea about live business cases. And the most important, but the biggest part will be the live demos to just show you how this can work in an integration, where we'll see, for example, how you generate documents from Dynamics CE that automatically are saved into SharePoint with metadata. So kind of linking to the session we just had before. The very same we do from Business Central, and also in the end, we will do finance and operations. That's our rough agenda for this. As I said, later on, we'd like to also do a form on what technologies you are specifically interested in. So we might change the focus a little bit if all of you are just CE interested, but not an FO. So keep your phones and be ready for some questions on this. Yeah, and Q&A, feel free to post them in the chat anytime. I'll have them on my screen on the left-hand side. And if we cannot answer them at the time because it doesn't fit, then we'll just discuss them at the very end. All right, so I mentioned keep your phones ready. The first thing we'd like to ask you is if you already know Docs42. So just reach out to your phones, scan the QR code. I will show the results in a second. Just leave the barcode here for another 5 seconds. And let's jump into our responses. All right, the first ones are coming in. There is a tendency, I'd say. So let's just share that again. Okay. Well, then I think we came to the right place to show to you what we can do. As Fabian said, it's a lot about document automation, and our core focus in this is that if you think about your projects, the challenge usually is that there is a lot of data sources, a lot of applications. All of them should get data into documents, ideally combined. At the same time, you want the design to be business user friendly. So they should be ideally designed in Microsoft Word, Excel, or PowerPoint. And at the end of the day, have automated contracts, invoices, quotes, PowerPoint presentations, emails. And that's exactly where we fit into. So take data from many different data sources and automate the documents. One advantage of this, of course, is that you don't have an application for each different application in terms of the document design. So we had a look into the way we have seen it with a lot of customers that now start to use Docs42 on how they automate their documents. And of course, the first option is not at all. So there is our good friend copy paste, which kind of like, yeah, you know how it often works. You take the old quote, old invoice, copy paste, and maybe also copy an error, or maybe there's new information that is not included. So it is very individual for that specific customer if it's, for example, a quote, but of course it's not automated and it takes a lot of time to do it. The second option, we probably all have met the VBA macro expert. And from the way Microsoft has evolved this, it's really going into a good direction. But of course, if you want to combine different data sources, PowerPoint, there are some limits to this. And if we just consider the macro idea, usually is the one guy knowing it, but there's no server-side automation. So we also want to have this server-side automated. The alternative is perfect server-side automation. Probably a lot of you have been there to do it with SSRS, do it programmatically, which is perfectly automated, but at the same time, it's not that flexible. And customers sometimes, or also if you're within an organization, it's not that easy to understand why it takes 2 days to just do some minor changes. Would be nice to do them in an actual Word document, for example, if it's an SSRS document. All right, and how do we deal with it? Like we said, there is intuitive design in Microsoft Office, so Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, like you see on the right-hand side here. And we also, like in Prabhu's session, had some slides about the background and the middleware. In our case, it is a server, so the Docs42 server is a server-side automation, but that web service can be called from many different applications, which makes it, in terms of the architecture, very open to a lot of scenarios. And most importantly, you can call the same service from finance and operations, from CE, from SharePoint, from Power Automate, and all of them take care of the different data sources that you can access. Just 3 slides about some customer cases we want to bring up. Maybe somebody works for you for ABB. Happens quite frequently that we meet somebody in a session that already works with some of the customers. They use it within their Dynamics sales and service platform, in this case based on CE or CRM. And yeah, at the end of the day, they now have a business process, and that would continue in terms of the projects. That's also a very important point, because if you have a document automation tool that is not just limited to one project or one scenario, you can keep it growing in the organization based on the different projects. Same, we also have, of course, in ERP parts. We come to the question on what you are interested most in a second, so I'm very curious on that one as well. But of course, also in ERP, there is a lot of questions around automated documents that then, as Microsoft also is kind of more going into the app approach in Dynamics, you might have a combination of data. So that's one scenario you can go into. And lastly, one slide that we would like to show you is our customer success story of Fraser Yards. What you see there is our document design in Word. On the right-hand side, you see the output document. Well, of course, the user will generate it from the application itself. But everything you see there is on the right-hand side is the PowerPoint automation. On the left-hand side, we have an automation for whatever products we select. So they can be very complex or can become very complex, those documents. And of course, you want to automate them, and those complexity Docs42 can handle. There is a Watch Now button down here. Just one hint on having a look on onto our homepage. There is a resources page, and in that you can get a lot of, like we see here, reference cases, reference videos. So there's one we did with Keith Fowler from Fraser Yards. There's also some tutorial videos, and just to get a technical feeling about this. And yeah, also of course the documentation. So have a look into our resources page. So much for the case part. Just a brief introduction how this is done before we show it to you in the live demo. So that's the worded in design, as you see with the blue fields coming from a lot of different data sources. And that is the slide we mentioned a couple of times already. So that's the integrations in terms of the data you can get out of the box into a document. And most importantly, you can combine those. So if you have, for example, text blocks in SharePoint, but the product or the logic is from CRM, then you are able to combine those. For the user or for the business user case, it makes it a lot friendly, like that you, for example, can maintain those text blocks in SharePoint or Teams, while the one generating it from your Dynamics automatically gets the right text block into the document, but still it's just maintained on one single point. Now the question to you. What technologies would you like to see today? We will of course show all of them, but based on your answers, we are able to focus more on the ones that have the highest bar chart up. And once again, I will open, in this case, Microsoft Forms. First response is coming in. Let me just share the QR code, so feel free to scan this. CE, Business Central, Power Apps, Power Automate, also very important one. So there will be an integration with Power Automate, of course. The Power App we didn't plan to show today, but everything you will see today, you can also, of course, trigger from a Power App. Right. And FinOps is also moving up. So I think, Fabian, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we have kind of the right schedule. So we will start with Dynamics CE. That will be the integration. Then we will also, of course, show Business Central, which is the blue bar. Okay, there's more FinOps.
Yeah, a lot of FinOps. So we have, we actually brought everything for you, and that's the Power Apps. But
the question is, Fabian, we could switch FinOps and BC.
Yeah, we could do this, but I quickly show BC, and then after that, you can
that's a good idea.
Bit more time about FinOps. Okay, if this is great for you. Good. I love this interactive session. You decide what we are doing.
This is actually live, so we prove this is live. Okay, perfect. Thank you for answering those. And we see there's more and more Power Apps and Power Automate coming. So I think we got you covered in the live demo. Last slide before actually going there is the outputs. So of course, a document has to have a lot of different data sources, but should also get into a direction. So where can this be saved to? There's of course the option to open those documents. That's something we will see. Very importantly, also into SharePoint. And also in the previous session, we had the metadata saving question. That's also something that's a lot of time happening with us. So you might want to save a document from Dynamics CE into SharePoint, still picking the metadata from CE and then automatically having as metadata in SharePoint. So that's a combination we will show. But enough of the talking. We will do the PowerPoint or the Power Automate integration a little bit. Fabian, what's the plan for the live demo?
Perfect. Thank you so much. Quickly share the screen. My screen. Yes. So as we said, yeah, we were pretty open depending on your decision, but we definitely will start with the quotes in Dynamics CE. And as Johannes already told us, most of the time when it comes to quotes in CE, you have also modules or text modules or some calculations stored in SharePoint. And this is exactly what we will show you in the beginning as a first introduction. Then there's we have also a lot of customers using PowerPoint for sales opportunities, for example, to send them to the customer. This is the second scenario I would like to show you. Then after that, I would jump quickly into Business Central because it is my heart. You know, it's one of my campaigns. So it's I'm the product manager about Business Central. So I will show you in Business Central online how you can generate directly a document, also integrating data from different systems like CE and SharePoint. And then we definitely jump to finance operations. And as you guys were very interested also in Power Automate, I will also show you how a flow could generate one of these quotes. If I change something within the quote, then automatically a flow generates a document and save it to SharePoint. So I will show you this, of course, as well. Power Apps will be in the next session or next Dynamics Power Automate Bootcamp. Then, of course, we can show you the Power Automate, the Power Apps as well. Good. So much for the talking. And actually, we optionally do have also contracts in CE signing with DocuSign, but there was not a big interest in digital signing and during our second question. So I guess we leave this in this case. Okay, so let me jump directly into the system. So we are here now in our Sales Hub, and I would like to show you the quote first. So let's open the quotes. And we prepared one specific quote. It's the so-called solar panels quote. That's one example where we have actually the following scenario. We have some products for the customer, some solar panels and panel holder and so on. But on the other hand, there are other, you know, that's the company Solar Power Deluxe also provides services for the customers. So there is, of course, different quote modules that has to be included into the quote than just listing these three products here. And to show you what I mean actually is we have a SharePoint library here, and there is a specific quote folder with the same quote ID from Dynamics CE system, and there are some documents and Excel files included, and I opened them yet, so you can see them here. That's a PowerPoint presentation about the connection plan. So this is one module that has to be included into the final quote. Then also there is, for example, a Word document. Salesforce salesmen can work on that and just use it as a cover letter, for example. And then we have a little advertising, for example. And here is an Excel file, so the installation of the panels. So let me quickly change something. This is just 10 or something, so that you can see that it really takes the data live from the moment when I generate the quote. So here it's now 10 hours, for example. So all this information, plus, of course, all the information from CE has to be included into the final quote. And what Docs42 does now is we have actually a Dynamics app where we are completely included here in the ribbon. So there are some of our calls included. You can really define them and configure them as you need them. And you see some of them. So here's the return action, for example. Then also we can generate docx files. We can save them to SharePoint, of course, a draft email. And also you see it here. Also, you can attach the document directly to the entity. We can show this later on. I guess that might be a question as well. But first of all, I would like to generate the quote and just get it as a return to have a look at it, how it looks like at the end. And the Docs42 online server, that's our cloud server, is now logging in with my user. So it is fully impersonated with my user via Azure Active Directory. And the template, as I said, is designed in Microsoft Word in this case, and it is also stored in SharePoint Online. So I will show you the template, of course, in a second. So quickly, let me open this one, that you can see how this this quote could look like. And you see it here. So let me make this a little bit smaller than you can see it here. So this is all the information that we had here directly from the system, from CE. So we added it here. Then this is the Word document that was coming from SharePoint. Then we have a barcode included, an image, the entity image also coming from CE. This product table is exactly this table here from CE, and also the calculations. And then this is the Excel file that we have seen in SharePoint, and you see it here, it's the 10 hours. So it's taking exactly the amount or the numbers and the data directly in the moment when it is generating the document. And then if I go further down, you see this little PowerPoint presentation and this little advertisement here, which we added at the end. So that was just the return action, just to show you the functionality. We combined data from SharePoint, or actually documents from SharePoint, also Excel data from SharePoint, and also combined data directly from the CE, from the for sales system, from the CRM system. The document was designed in Microsoft Office, and I quickly open it that you can see how this looks like, and I will show you the add-in and the designing process a little bit, and then I will change something in the template, and then I regenerate it, and you will see that it's done immediately without any programming. We have our Dynamics site here where we store all our templates within Dynamics. You see there are the FO templates. Here is the for sales templates and also the business center templates. Let me open the for sales template, and then I will show you how it would work. So it is somewhere here. It's a Word document as I promised, so we have a lot of them. You can see them. So let me open this one. That's the correct template. It's Microsoft Word, and as we said, so the designer, so you as a designer, you use the docs with two add-ins. So this is directly included. First, I have to authenticate myself quickly. So here within the ribbon, there is our add-in installed. So you have all your information that you need here, and that's the heart of the document. Actually, is the data map. You need to create a data map, and this is where you configure all your connections. And if I just make this a little bit bigger here, then you see the different data sources, so you can really combine all of them. Here, this is the standard module, and then here there are the additional modules, Business Central. Here's our CE data, and of course the FinOps data, and yeah, some other data. And also there's a custom data source if you need it. And what we connected here in this specific code, of course, is the sales entity, and then the modules from SharePoint. Yeah, and we just combined and did the filtering directly here. I don't want to jump too deep into it, but you can directly connect to your system, select your fields that you need, your entities, and then you have immediately the fields available on the right-hand side, clicking on Insert Data Field, and you can drag and drop them into the document. You can also visualize them with different colors, with different icons, whatever you need, that the business department know which data sources they should use to integrate. So, and I would like to take one, let's take the customer idea, just drag and drop it here into the document, and then you edit the data field, and that's it. And if you want to have it as a barcode, then you just click here on this button, and you can directly define it as a type barcode, for example, and then just with one click, you just call a dimension or something, and you have a lot of QR codes, barcodes available out of the box. And with one click, your data field, the customer ID, is just integrated as a barcode. And otherwise, if you're not happy with the color of the data field, you can just use normal Word functionality. You can say, okay, this has to be orange or something, and then the data field is formatted in orange as well. I can save this one here, and what I always can do is I can generate a document locally to see what changes has been done and how the document looks like afterwards. As I added a barcode here and I changed the color to orange here, I expect that this one is now it is applied now. So basically, that's the testing part. So you add something, you change something, and then you test it locally. And after you are happy, then it is effective immediately within your system. So you see it here. It's now in orange, and also the barcode is added here. Good. So because we don't have that much time, I jump from the template designing process directly back into the system, and I would like to show you how it is now within our system. If I generate the document one more time again and I save it to SharePoint directly, you will see that the changes are now effective. So I just click here on Save to SharePoint. The document will be generated one more time again, and it will be saved directly in a library in SharePoint Online. And also, of course, the changes are now in the document as well. So let me jump to our SharePoint site where it is stored now. You can see it here a few seconds ago. There is the quote. That's also, we have metadata from CE written in a specific column here. And here, if I click on the button, you will see, quickly let me open it in the browser, so then it's everything correct. You see it here, we have our barcode included, the color has been changed, and yeah, of course, everything else was the same. But this is, you see it is always taking live the data from the moment when it is generated. And as we were talking about a lot of Power Automate, I would like to show you the flow. So what we made is we created a flow. Whenever an entity here or a quote is changed, then the flow triggers our Docs42 server and regenerates it. So let me change the discount from 10 to 15, and then I save the changes. And right now, in the background, the flow is triggered. The entity was changed, the quote was changed, so the document will be regenerated and also stored in SharePoint. But sometimes, you know, the flow lasts a little bit longer. So let's see if this is already there. But otherwise, we will check it then at the end. It's also configured that the flow will be stored the document directly here in the library for our documents here. No, it's not done yet, but we also changed it to flow. So let me see, maybe now, but if not, then we have a look at it later on. Here, a few seconds ago, you can see it here. Now there is our flow document. So no problem, you can really use Power Apps and Flow to generate your documents. And now the other thing what I would like to show you is, so we have seen this scenario that we generate a document, that we can change something very quickly, but for sales, this is very important to send this document to the customer as well. So also there's one output action that's actually my favorite that I really use very often is the draft email action. So what I would like to do is I can generate a draft email file, and then the document is, or the quote is attached, and also there's a predefined word text already, and I can use this and directly send or change it, edit it, and then send it to the customer. So here it is. We have our predefined text here. It is also containing metadata from Dynamics. There is the quote attached, of course, the new changed quote with the barcode. And here I can add something or change something and then directly send it to the customer. That's Michaela Mitarbeiter. You see it here. It's from the data here, and I can send it to the customer and it's done. So that's a pretty nice feature to send the quote directly. And as I said before, we can also attach the quote to the entity. So this is also a common use case that you just generate the quote, you save it to SharePoint, and also you can attach it to your entity in Dynamics if you want. And it is then here added to the notes, for example. So here you can see it. This is right now at the moment we added this quote, and here it is. Good. So this is more or less some of the possibilities with our quote in this case with the different modules. Of course, you can really change something, but right now I would like to show you a different use case, and that's the PowerPoint. So we would like to generate a PowerPoint. Now we travel back in time, but because if you generate a quote, the customer is already happy, he knows the product. But usually if you have the first touch point, you would like to introduce the customer your product. And most of the time you're using PowerPoint as a sales presentation. And of course you can add an opportunity to Dynamics, a sales opportunity. And this is what I would like to do. So we travel back in time before Michaela Mitarbeiter has received the document. She will receive a kind of a PowerPoint proposal, and that's what I would like to show you now. So we have it here. It's a solar panels proposal, and this is exactly our opportunities entity. So we have the customer, Michaela Mitarbeiter, the first touch point has been done, and also we have some current situations, some descriptions, what is the customer's need, and all this information plus the products and so on. Also the product images and so on has to be included into the PowerPoint presentation. And you can see it here. Of course, you can link the offer, the quote directly to this entity. And here we added the possibility just to generate a PowerPoint presentation. But before I generate this one, I also would like to show you, as we have it here, our quote modules. We also, of course, have our quote or our proposal modules. And here you see we added some images and some text blocks, and yeah, we have different possibilities to add into our presentation. Of course, in this case, also they are saved here in SharePoint. And now let's jump back to it and generate the PowerPoint. So I click here on Generate PPTX. Same procedure. We just stored the PowerPoint presentation. We just designed it and stored it in SharePoint, but in this case, not in Word, what you have seen before. In this case, it was just a PowerPoint that we designed. And here it is. That's our PowerPoint presentation, including all the data, all the information. I just make this a little bit smaller that you can see it. So this is just the thing, the Adventure CO, that's a customer name. Then here you have some information, some images, and also some reference customers, of course. And here, this is the current situation, the need. This is exactly coming from here, from our entity here. And then we have, of course, some images. And this are the products that we have seen in the quote. So because we related the quote directly, we can also retrieve the data there from the quote information and of course include them into the PowerPoint presentation. So you can really combine the systems. Good. So a lot of use cases. Now, as the time is running, I would really love to jump into Business Central. I will make it very short, but I need to show you this because it's a pretty new product that we are also able to generate in Business Central online documents. So let me be actually using always the same Docs42 online server. It's the same cloud server for SharePoint, for the CE, for Business Central, and also for finance and operations. So I jump into it's not a demo environment, it's actually a production environment. It's our Business Central. I have a demo user here. Okay, that was not working. I'm sorry for that, because that's the wrong user. I'm jumping, I just closed the other things here in the hope that it is working then. Because I have a lot of users, you know. I will close this one, and now let's try it again. Yeah, that looks good. So in this case, I use Helena Bentley. That's our demo user for Business Central. And I will not go very deep into it. I just will generate one document as a job quote. And I will explain this one in the next Business Central Bootcamp. Now I jump directly to our job quotes here. For those who are working with Business Central, they are familiar with this interface. We have some quotes, some example jobs here listed, and usually the sales people, they are also working directly here within Business Central, within the entity, within their job. There is the planning lines and so on, and they would like to generate the reports directly in Business Central, of course. So there are our reports included. And before I open this one, I would like to show you that we also have some quote modules directly in Business Central. So I have my quote modules here. There is a PowerPoint presentation that has to be included. There are images that has to be included. And also the Word document is a terms document that has to be included. So again, you can really combine your data sources again. So I will generate this one more time that you can see it, that you really can use your platforms that you are preferring. You can integrating your data that you are preferring, of course, and just generating from wherever you want them. So I have to authenticate myself when I generated the first time, because the server needs the token from SharePoint Online, so it's highly secured, of course. And then after that, the document will be generated, and I will hand over to Johannes because he really has a lot of stuff in finance operations to show you as well. So here it is. This is my document. That's the return action. We already know this one. And here, this is now my quote that I just created in Business Central. And here is the same procedure. It is a Word document that we stored in SharePoint Online. And here, this is the image that we are retrieving directly from SharePoint. Then this one is the pricing table. This is exactly the same table here. And also you have the subsums, because you can add logic within tables in your dynamic tables with Docs42 as well. So we can add groups and then do some group calculations and add the subsums, which is from Business Central users. They really love this feature. And then we have products. They are stored in CE, dynamic CE. So we have the same the combination again, CE, and here this is a PowerPoint presentation coming from SharePoint, and then the Word document in terms and conditions. So a lot of possibilities. Documents you can merge the data, you can merge different systems. There are a lot of possibilities, and of course you can generate them within different systems. Good. That was it for now for me. And yeah, I would say, Johannes, it's time for finance operations. I took a lot of time, but now then we have seen in detail 3 different systems.
Yeah, thank you, Fabian. I have been widely active in the chat, so thanks everybody for interaction. It's just so cool to get out there, get in touch with you. I will have that chat open here too, so keep on posting those questions. And Ali, your latest question about the architecture, we'll try to include it, and I hope I can make it in all for this case in that specific demo. Also show you one time the configuration of a service behind it for the finance and operations document, which is very similar to all the other applications we've already seen from Fabian. Okay. First of all, let's do a document from here. And we're just within the invoice journal in finance and operations. And instead of doing the SSRS standard, we will in this case automatically open a document from finance and operations. You can probably guess how the design is done. And at the same time, what is enabled in this case is an archive into SharePoint. So basically that document that I've just generated also gets archived into SharePoint at the same time. And of course, also saving the metadata in there. So we'd also have that document in there. I will get to the design in a second. First of all, the example that I want to show you in terms of the configuration of that service, let's have a look in this case to the docs42 parameters, which are in the standard service system administration. In this case, the application in finance and operations is integrated via the lifecycle services as a deployable package. And in there we have the docs42 parameters. Now, without going into too much detail here, that's one URL of the service, in this case the REST service, for example, that we have as our SaaS option, always where there's docs42 online. That server can also be on premise, both is fine. And if we scroll down a little further, in this case, in order for finance and operations to access the template from SharePoint, we have an Azure app that authenticates. There's also the option, as in the other applications, to go via the user. So that will be via an ID token. But it's always the same story. There is some logic that does the authentication, gets either ID or access token, and then is able to get the data, read the template from SharePoint, but at the same time being open, because even Nick, like you had the question about the separate application, still this could be the same thing, because in that application, you just need to get the ID or access token for our service to either have the template on the server or in SharePoint, then access the template there, and then that will maintain the XML JSON logic behind it. So I hope that answers the questions that we had so far. Thanks a lot for them. And let's keep going with this one. So we had the sales invoice in finance and operations. In this case, there is the report configuration, or we can define any report from FinOps to be generated via docs42 by just adding it here and selecting the report from all the reports we have, of course, also custom reports. And there is a company behind this, and there's also language behind this. So there can be a lot of dependency on those. But most importantly, they will always, if you work with our cloud application, link to a path from SharePoint. So that's the very document that we need to edit in order to edit the document for our finance and operations. Of course, we will now do something that probably you shouldn't do in the normal case, because we will edit the live document. There is a logic that you can have like a library for test documents, then another for the live documents. In this case, let me jump again to SharePoint to open that very template. In here, first of all, you see there is the finance and operations templates, the same library Fabian has shown us for PC as well as for sales. And there's also the F&O documents, which is the defined output library. As you see 3 minutes ago, in this case, I did the authentication via an app permission. And we also include the metadata into SharePoint in this one. And opening this exactly opens the document as we see here. Also, thanks Aina for the feedback in the meantime. There is this document as an output. What I just briefly want to show you is in the FO templates, the very same template from the sales invoice that I just opened and edited. So I can open this in my app, which will open it locally in my Word. Once again, also in here, I will be able to change the document. Let's just do some minor change on this one. Let's include from the sales invoice. From that, let's use the account ID. Invoice account as a barcode, and that has a dimension. Let's just keep it there. Perfect. I hope there's data behind this, but we'll see. All right, what I'm doing again, same thing as we've done multiple times now. I'm doing the local generation, so I will be able to test locally. I'm happy with the result. Let's just highlight them with some other coloring. Save. And we've done the magic. Let's go back to FinOps and generate the document again. Looking at the time, we still have a couple of minutes. And as linking to the question from before, so the template in this very call, again, of course, links to the document from SharePoint. So there's no need to sync the template to that application. The application will call it from SharePoint. And yeah, there are changes. And if you think about this in terms of SSRS, for example, just think about how long it would take you to implement the barcode. Well, the colorings are not that huge of a deal, but still the alignment, page breaks. We again have in this case in a Word document that gets integrated. So a lot of complexity, which at the end of the day also to leads one example that if you work with conditions in the templates, of course, you can reduce the amount of templates because like we all know, with many cases, you have just minor changes with a lot of different templates. If you work with conditions, you need to maintain less, while at the same time being able to have more complexity in that. And depending, of course, on the project, in some you might want to have the business user being able to design. And yeah, so much for that integration. For the FinOps specialist among you, there is also, so far we have only done the documents that are linked based on the SSRS data. We can also read the entity data. So in this case, this doesn't have to do anything with an SSRS. There is an option for the Docs42 generation in here too, where I will just get the data from an entity and have, like in this case, a vendor fact sheet based on the entity. Similar approach to what we've seen. And like the reports I've shown before, we can also have the entity as base for where this button, like we've just seen here, is shown. Right. Good time to take a sip. Cheers to everyone, wherever you are in the world. Right, and there we are with our fact sheet, which again has the same corporate design. Handly, it's just basically Word document copy pasting and then again drag and dropping the fields into it. I wonder, maybe one more thing to show you in the FinOps integration. We also have something included in here that automatically sends the mails. So there is the print management enabled to send the mails from Docs42 directly. We could have done the same thing for the archive. So in this case, we enabled the archive to SharePoint. We could also enable an archive to an email. And this will then be sent to a user with on the one hand, we will see that, I'll just move this over here. So the email will come in a second. This is the one that we will see as the output. Now it came perfect. And in here also the design of the email in this case also is a Word document. So we output similar to the CRM email activity question we had, and we also output HTML based on docx. All right, then last but not least, since many of you already mentioned also the integration into Power Apps, Power Platform, the last thing that I just quickly want to show you is from SharePoint directly. So similar to all the integrations we've already seen, I've opened it here already anyway. There is this, again, with the same service. All the services you've seen today is one service only, right? So it's not like there's different servers, it's one service. And that is, in this case, the usage of me sending a contract via DocuSign. So that's the app for SharePoint in this case. And we'll send that out. In the meantime, I'm just opening the questions. Ali, thanks for the question. We're happy to share them, of course. Right. So that was sent out. In the meantime, like you've seen, Beate Rata has received an email, and also there should be a new employee contract in here that I just received via DocuSign. So that's another output action we have. And if I check that document, it's a contract we generated based on SharePoint data and is now in the spheres of DocuSign. And then you sign this and you're basically good to go. So automated documents, still digital signature. Before jumping into, Ali, you've said that you want the contact details. Feel free to reach out to us. Send us a contact request. I will put that here for the second. Power Automate, yes. Sander, maybe can you be more precise? You want to see the magic? Okay. Okay, because thanks, I think that answered your question then as well. Looking at the time, this would have been the architecture slide, Ali, I think you requested in terms of the local token getting and the server token getting, where the basically whatever application calls the service with a token, logs into Azure Active Directory, gets the token for the call, and then gets the data and the access to the template. Just very briefly, so kind of like the two layers of authentication, one for the designer add-in and the other for the service itself. All right. So what's from the very beginning, of course, what's the benefit? We tried to put them here. I hope we have been able to show them to you in the session. A lot of questions, which was very good. We still have a couple of more minutes.
Exactly. Actually, I tried to answer some of them during the presentation of Johannes, but there was good. I think just one was open regarding the implementation of the button in CE. Mm-hmm. So basically, there is an app that you just install within your CE system. Within this app, you can configure your templates, and then the button, to add the button, you need Ribbon Workbench. That's correct. Someone said, I assume it's Ribbon Workbench. That is correct. But yeah, that's the way how it works.
Yeah, and we are currently in the process of it's still Ribbon Workbench, but there's also web resource we deploy with the next solutions. So that basically the web resource will be pushed as a button, ideally in some future even more automatic. But that's the way it is for the moment.
And I've learned that in Icelandic, skal means cheers. So
oh,
good to know.
Icelandic, nice. I just love this community. It's so cool to be here. Everybody just around the world.
Yeah, we're missing the after work, the after event beers.
100% agree. Yeah, the last time we did this was in London at the location after. So hope to be able to do that soon again. Maybe it's also time to once again show the Lego. So feel free to scan that barcode.
Exactly.
And have a beer.
And also, yeah.
I hope I'm even pronouncing that correctly. Beer.
And there's at the end there's one slide with our contact details. Again, we added it to the community. You can always contact us. Of course, we are global sponsor of the Dynamics community, so we will be back very soon. Financial services, and here again, yeah, our contact details. Thank you, Johannes.
Thanks, Fabian. There's still.
Are there any questions?
Any questions?
Answered.
Jay, thanks for the. That's something. Is that a question or? Correct. And yes, so we basically the product integrates all the different data sources, and through the cloud options with Azure application. Basically, I think one important push that we had was also, of course, Azure AD, to kind of like be as an app registration within there. And from there, we recently, or for example, developed an integration also for Azure Blob storages. But since we already are within the Azure, it's kind of like handy to push this based on customer requirements. Thank you also, Adriana.
Thank you so much. Yes, you love compliments.
Who doesn't, right? There is also, I think we didn't mention the contact yet. So there is a contact page on our homepage if you want to have a free trial on this. Maybe just very briefly, if you'd like to just try it from very base stuff yourself, there is, if you download the add-in and use the free key, there's a tutorials button in here, which lets you work on a lot of local templates. So you have Word integration, XML integration, Excel integration. And with those, you can basically just try, for example, an employee contract from Excel if you want to try this yourself.
Exactly.
You can then just click and generate as a local example, not of course yet integrated into whatever application you use. There is the contact page here to request free keys. Now, honestly, FNO is not something that we give as a free key because it's a more complex integration in terms of the deployable packages. But still, if you have a case, reach out to us.
Exactly. And I quickly share the link to the quiz, or actually to the raffle, one more time again, so you have it if you didn't join it yet. So do it now, because the Lego is, yeah. I did it already.
Okay.
So, perfect.
Which data sources? How to design? I hope we should be able to answer them now. Right, I'm just having a look. I think we didn't answer Mikhail's question. Mikhail Nunes or Nunez?
I did. There are unlimited. Really, the parents and the entities there are no limitations in number of levels. You can really link them, all of them.
Exactly, and also if you want to work with Fetch XML, that's one way to have. Oh, Thanks, guys.
So. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Raz, are you here as well?
Are you still there?
Hello. Yes, definitely. Okay, so excited. It's great to see that we have a winner already from the last time. Congratulations. Yes. Also to remind you all that I believe there are some winners who have use the promo code Docs42Rocks. So we do have some winners as well. I believe you will be announcing them in the email when you announce the Lego winner as well.
Yes.
Yes.
So we have winners who will be winning the book on implementing Dynamics 365. So you will win the book for Dynamics 365 implementation as well as customer voice as well. So yeah, so those winners will be announced next week.
Exactly.
Thank you once again, Docs42, for that great overview of all the products there. You saw quite a lot of integrations there. There are challenges, as you're all aware, with document automation and integrations into SharePoint and other places. So it's great to see that you've been able to solve that problem. So thank you once again, and hopefully see you at the next one.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Have a great conference. Bye-bye. All the best.
Bye-bye.
Great weekend. Thanks again, Russ. And congrats on a great community. It's always fun. All right. Bye-bye.